Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this is important, I would say, webinar and info session and education session for, especially plumbers in a specialized field as such, and also just to, make everyone aware that, your insurance is not a one size fits all. So without further ado, I'm gonna kick into it. I just want to say again, thank you so much for having me. I'm heading up the construction engineering at King Price, and please feel free at the end of the session to ask all your questions. Later on, it is a 1 hour of two or today. You might hear from Knox Lamini a little bit later in the other slides. Yeah, so let's kick off. So important to note, as I said earlier, that you guys are working in a very specialized field, and you need the specialized insurance. So it's for your obviously your work that you're performing. It's important that I also discuss with you the type of policies that is available. Obviously, based on my experience. I just want to also tell you the need for the insurances. So we've got a product which is it's the CAR policy, which is a contact as orders policy. So what is covered, as obviously as a plumber or a contractor, this policy covers accidental physical loss or damage to the insured property, and also covers the permanent works as well as the temporary works and all materials intended for the actual works that you're going to be performing. Um, and also keep in mind that obviously there is free issue materials, etc., which will also be covered in terms of this particular policy. The perils, all environmental perils are covered as it is on an all risk basis. Elemental perils such as lightning, storm, fire, all of that, wind as well, as also just to name a few. And then also accidental damage is also covered in terms of this particular policy, theft and malicious damage, as well as testing and commissioning, which involves hot testing or cold testing. Where are you covered? So you're covered on site. So obviously in terms of, your site location, whichever site is handed over to you in terms of your contract, your bill of quantity, your scope. We'll also cover you for your materials, your stock whilst in transit, and also including the loading and unloading of your materials. It's also covered. And then also your stock will be covered, or your materials incorporated for this work, also whilst off-site or temporary storage. So yeah, we do provide, I think, a general all risk cover for your particular materials. Which just trying to go to the next slide just to give you the differences in terms of the policies which is available to you. So on a CAR, which is your contractors all risk policy, you do have an annual policy and you do have a once-off. Your annual policy covers you for basically all your work within a 12-month period or 24, depending on obviously the type of contract period, but generally it's just an annual policy which is paid off on a monthly basis. How we rate on this policy is we use your estimated turnover for a period of 12 months estimated, and this turnover should include obviously all your costs, etc., all your free materials, your contractual income, nothing other than other costs that's involved. So we rate you on this, and that's your estimated turnover. And then also our exposure is just what's your maximum any one contract value as a plumber. So if you go to a site, if you go to a job, what's going to be your maximum any one contract value at any given time during that period of insurance, because that's the exposure to the insurers itself. And then your maximum contract period, this can be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. It's important to note that in terms of our policy, because every contract that you go and do, obviously it's a little bit different when you're doing maintenance contracts, because obviously then the period will be shorter, but obviously that you can disclose to us, and we will make sure that we provide you with a tailor-made product on our side. Then also it's important to note, if you've got existing insurance, you just need to let us know what the existing projects are for the run on and run off cover. Because obviously with existing projects, you need to either, if you're moving your policy in between of your works which have not been completed, it's important to list that for us so that we can obviously refer that, so that we can accept those risks on a run-on basis. If you want to have those contracts run off with your current insurer, you can also negotiate that with your current insurer. A deposit premium is based on anticipated contractual turnover. So yeah, we it's basically a deposit premium as such as over 12 months. So we'll say this is your 12, this is your deposit premium of example 500,000, and it's payable on a monthly basis. We divide it by 12. Obviously plus any fees if there is any fees. And also if there's any SASRIA, we'll then provide you with your monthly, your monthly premium payable. Keep in mind that also once you've declared or have given us your estimated turnover, every renewal period, which is obviously on an annual basis, you then declare your projects completed and provide us with that value. Should it be understated, we then make sure you get a refund, because then if it's understated, in actual fact, if it's understated, you owe us a premium, because then you'll do the calculations. If it's overstated, meaning you've only done R1 million worth of work, and you've given us an estimated turnover of 5 million, which means you've done less than what you've declared, then we'll do a refund as well. So there is a bit of a benefit in declaring. On the other side, we talk about a once-off specific, and there we rate you on the actual contract value, which you give us up front, your site, your location, your work that you're going to be performing, and the premium there is payable upfront. So that's for your quick, your works that you're going to be performing as a plumber. If you need to go to a site and you've assigned, works, you can then get once-off specific. So you don't need to do an annual. It depends on how your workflow is. If you're getting a big job once every or twice or thrice every year, this is the type of cover that you'd rather want to be taking out than an annual. Okay, and it's the same year. Adjustable on completion of the contract with final declaration. Obviously, if you've given us a contract value of 10 million, and you've in terms of the final completion, you've only done 5 million, yeah, we'll have to adjust it on our side and make sure that you get your necessary refund. Just to note the extensions. So it's important to note the extensions that's available under the CAR. This one is very important for you guys. Surrounding property, you often dealing with high value properties, obviously going to high and upper end properties where you'll be doing plumbing or construction, because that all forms part of plumbing. And surrounding property covers you for your basically, if you're going to be performing a job at a Michelangelo, and you're going into this room, you're busy drilling into a hole, you're drilling into the wall, and next to it is a painting of 100 million rand. I'm just giving you an example. You're not there to touch the painting, but purely just there to drill into the wall to fix your pipes. Into that copper pipes into the hole, and yeah, something happens to the painting on the left. Remember, you're not there to do anything to the painting. Your scope of works only includes the wall, and you're going to be drilling it. So it's something which is in your care, custody, and in control, but it's not forming part of your works. That's basically what surrounding property is. And if anything happens to that painting, you'd be able to claim obviously under the surrounding property. That's just a simple example that I can give you. It's important to note that you need to take that out specifically for the type of work you guys do. You guys are very close to high value items, and obviously your surrounding property is important to cover those risks. We cover off-site storage, claims preparation costs, escalation for any deviation in your contract, during a contract period, or a claim, that might occur during the contract period of insurance. We cover removal of debris. We also cover removal of debris, including no damage to works. And then we also cover difference in conditions or deductible for whatever deductible or conditions your main contractor holds you liable for. I mean, in respect of his requirements for the insurances, most cases they hold you liable for the excess. You can also take out that cover with us. It's an extension, obviously, whilst having an annual policy, with your current insurer. Also, fire brigade charges, professional fees, plans and documents is also available. So there's a whole lot of other extensions which is available, obviously, which suits your type of project or risk during that time. In terms of the liability, so lateral support is available. I know it's not something that you guys will deal with, but lateral support is available as an extension under liability. Cross liabilities clause for spread of fire, very important. Statutory legal defense costs, emergency medical expenses, as well as assault, defamation, and then also trespass or nuisance. It's also available under our policy. All these extensions are, I think it's a need in terms of your insurance requirements. I think it's definitely something which you need to consider, especially doing your high value projects. Even the low key projects, you also need the necessary extensions to cover you for those risks. The need for the insurance. Yeah, so basically the extensions available, we cover your SASRIA risk. I think it's a must these days, considering the climate that we're in and considering what's happening around us. This is available. It's an optional cover under your CAR policy. Also, maintenance period. So this is not the actual maintenance period as such, where you're going to do maintenance work. This maintenance period specifically is linked to your specific contract that you're busy with. So during that contract, you get maintenance period of 3 months, 1 month for any snags that obviously occurred that you have to go and do and complete whilst you were performing your works on site. So if you were doing an installation of a geyser, and there's a few snags here and there which was picked up, obviously you can go back within that 1 month and we will be on cover. The insurance still applies for that 1 month to fix that defects which occurred during the period of construction or installation as such. Defective workmanship and product liability. Defective workmanship in terms of our policy is not specifically covered. However, we will look at the cost additional had the defect not occur. So for defective workmanship specific, you need to take out a specific policy, very specialized, and that you'll get available from the liability specialist underwriters, as well as your product liability. So this cover is not inclusive. It's not available all the time. It's something that you have to request. Very important. And they generally request photos for verification, like a before and after of your work. Just to note that under your records for all your work performed. Public liability. Public liability covers you for accidental, loss or damage, and also in terms of any death, accidental death, whilst performing your work on site to third parties. Obviously, employers are not covered in terms of this policy. They would need to submit their claim under COIDA or take out specific insurances. So it's important that you do make sure that you've got the necessary cover for public liability, as again, you might be doing a job of 50,000 Rand, but your liability exposure is 50 million Rand or 10 million Rand, depending on the site that you're working at. And that's highly important that you do consider taking out public liability cover, which is available again under CAR policy. For more on that, you can just pop me a question or email, and you can speak to me about that. Surrounding property, I've discussed earlier. It's also, like I said, it's important cover to have because it goes hand in hand. There is a difference between surrounding property and public liability. We've touched on the spread of fire limitation because we know fire is obviously high risk, especially if you're working in the roof, you're busy with torch on, that can cause massive loss. And then also on the tools and equipment, so your own tools needs to be covered under a plant or risk policy, which is also available to us. It's a separate cover altogether. Your tools are not automatically covered in terms of your CAR policy. You need to specify it and take out the necessary cover for it. Public liability in terms of medical expenses, that's an extension under the public liability section. So you're more than welcome to then just take out the necessary public liability cover. Workman's compensation fund. As I said earlier, it's compensation for your death, injury, and accidental, accident suffered by workers. So that's just injuries or death suffered by your workers, obviously in the course of the employment, and that's for your own employers. Okay. So just to cap again, we've discussed the SASRIA, maintenance, defective workmanship, public liability, surrounding property, own tools and equipment, public liability, and workmanship. So there obviously is other extensions, which is not limited to the ones I've given you now. You are more than welcome to request, and obviously depending on the type of work that you're going to be doing or your project. And then we'll always obviously know and understand what it is that you need cover for. We'll definitely guide you in terms of that. Just a slide, I think a nice, I would say, chart showing you your most, I think, major types of accidents and unsafe working conditions in plumbing operations. So consider this and consider your insurance. If I look at the chart 2, your major types of accidents in plumbing operations, you can see there that your I think it's very important to note that injuries or accidents are bound to happen. It's very quick to happen. So there you can see obviously the highest there would be the struck by moving objects while working, and also you look at striking against objects, connect with extreme temperatures, and then also falls from elevators. This is just your type of accidents that you do find in your unsafe working conditions. I've just noted that to you guys to see. I mean, you can slip and fall through a roof, and have cover for that in terms of a CAR policy. And so for the others as well. And then on the other side is just your major types of unsafe working conditions in plumbing operations. So it's always, I mean, you guys work with high risk value. You work with electrical, you do construction, you do a combination of all of that. So hazardous working procedures, slippery floors, and other defective agencies. There might be a lack of personal safety equipment or poor housekeeping. These are just, like I said, in terms of your unsafe working conditions, which needs to be considered. And as I said, there is cover for this particular events or accidents. Plumbing companies and main area focus. This is a slide which I've taken obviously from IOPSA. I think it's important to note that you guys have an all-round area focus. So most plumbers were saying that they do all of the above, which means they do the domestic maintenance, industrial, commercial maintenance. They do domestic maintenance, insurance work, new housing, construction. So yeah, we basically see that you guys are covering quite a wide spread of your area of focus. So we are able to ensure you guys, for your works that you're going to be performing. And as I said, it's not a one size fits all. You need to have the specific specialized insurance for the work that you guys are doing, and making sure that you do a nice, I would say, set of homework over, what your insurance requirements is for the type of work that you're going to be doing. For that, you're probably going to sit down with either a broker, and give them your needs, and they will then take you through what the necessary covers are that you are required for. Okay, and then guys, any questions? You guys are more than welcome to ask. Like I said, it was a very quick overview on the actual insurance side of things. That's my email address. If there's any questions, please pop it up, and I'll be happy to answer all of your questions.
Peter, Steve, just a quick one. Could you just explain SASRIA? What is that? It's just a word that you've used there. So if you could just touch on that for us, please, just as an explanation.
No problem. So, SASRIA is it's a local. Well, SASRIA. Let me start by SASRIA. SASRIA is our strike and riot insurance company. It's a state-owned insurance company that provides cover for strike and riots. Cover to your works while performing on site. So it's an optional cover. Generally covers you for uproar in your community. For any incident, for obviously unforeseen incidents, which these days, as I said, in terms of the climate that we find ourselves on, examples of that would be in KZN itself, where they had all the looting going. that would have sufficed as a Sasria claim. So that optional cover is available for plumbers, and obviously on your CAR policy as well.
Thanks, Peter. So for that, just, in terms, because I mean, I'm down in Durban and we had the riots down here, quite severely. So, in terms of that, is it a specific cover? Does it cover, that, if you can't work and you can't operate, how does it work in terms of turnover? Is it loss, or how does that affect it? I saw it with some of the restaurants that had it. And does COVID form a part of that?
Yeah, so COVID itself, unfortunately, does not form part of it. It falls under diseases, and it's a different clause altogether, or condition altogether, that is covered. I know most recently there's a lot of insurers that did a lot of changes to their covers, specifically in terms of the exclusions. However, with regards to the strike and riot cover for Sasria, Sasria, not just in South Africa, is available in Namibia, which is called Nasria, which provides the same cover. However, it's a mirrored copy of your policy than what you have right now, which means it will cover all your risk. It follows your main policy as such. So if you've got a CAR policy in place, your CAR, which is a construction orders policy, what happens is we then do a mirror of that particular policy. We act as the agents, as the insurers for Sasria, and we then issue a coupon, which is obviously then your proof of insurance for Sasria. So it is available. It's optional. The client doesn't have to take it out. The only product that it doesn't actually cover in terms of engineering is your machinery breakdown, but all your perils, it just follows your main policy wording and follows your schedule. As such, so it will basically just mirror your current cover as it is on your actual policy. So all your perils, everything that I've just mentioned now, it's basically just maybe just like a contingency policy that you have in place for your Sasria. And in terms of your cover, as I said earlier, example will be your looting, fees must fall, all this, all the uproar and community outbursts, etc. That is basically what this cover is for. Is to cover. Also, there's two options available under CAR. You can also cover post loss and also pre-security costs. So post-security and pre-security is, they've given us an extension under Sasria where if you foresee something happening, right, you're able to actually claim for those security costs up front, meaning before the looters come to your premises or your site, you can already have obviously deployed security, and there is a cost for that, and however you can claim that back directly from Sasria. And also post, as I said, you can also claim for that. So there's two types of security costs which they've now extended to. However, based on the most recent looting, etc., and the cost, I mean, running over, I think, a few billion, they've now implemented some rate changes, obviously to cover for that. But Sasria, I think it's a must, especially, as I said, in the current climate that we are finding ourselves in. I just feel that it's a must to have in terms of your policy, and like I said, in terms of your cover spec, it's a mirrored policy from what you currently have. So they will follow what your current policy obviously covers in terms of conditions.
Thanks for that, Peter. Yeah, it was just an interesting one as I read it, and I wasn't aware of it until one of the colleagues let us know about that and whatever. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much, guys, and please feel free, as Byron said, to pop your questions. I'm obviously available to answer them, and I think it's important to understand the differences with your type of product or your insurance that you do have. It's important to do some homework, to do some checks and balances. Make sure that you do a needs analysis to make sure that you are covered for your specific jobs that you do. You guys are doing specialized work, and it's important that you make sure that your insurances are correctly covered and it's in place. Again, thank you so much, guys. Keep well, all the best, and see you guys next week.